getting this started here, Tyrus, an honor and a pleasure to be speaking with you. Does anyone in the world call you Ty, or are you Tyrus to everyone?
Tyrus is it's not that long. So I feel like if you shorten it up, you're just being lazy. I mean, if my name was like Stefano and you wanted to call me Steph, I get it. But to take the us off it just seems to me. But if Ty works for you, so be it. It'd be a first.
I like to ask that kind of stuff because, to name drop here, when I interviewed Tommy Lee, I asked him outright, I said, does anyone in the world call you Tom or Thomas? And he's like, yeah, my mom, when she was mad at me, would call me Thomas, and my wife calls me Tom. So you never know. So
right. Yeah. No, it's usually hey you in my house.
Well, thank you for doing this. It's such a pleasure to connect because years ago, through prior employers of yours, I said, I want to speak to that guy, and he was not available. So thanks to the Fox team.
Yeah, they're funny that way when they pick and choose who they want to, but no, free man now.
Free man now. And so you have a very interesting career in that you are a champion within NWA, but you're also a regular contributor to what they say is the best rated late night talk show. And then you also do other stuff. Was this kind of the end goal, the dream, to be able to do a bunch of different things at once?
That's a great question. Now and kids today are still the same thing. When they ask you, what you want to be when you grow up, and kids will hit you with that combination. Like right now, my daughter's going to be a biologist, an NWA wrestler, and a ballerina. So that's what, she's going to do. My son's going to be a WWE wrestler, and he's going to have a YouTube channel, and he's going to be a firefighter. Yeah. So, and when I was a kid, I was like, I was going to play football, I was going to wrestle, and I was going to be a movie star. Those were really, really ridiculous goals because you don't think of what's real and what's not. So I kind of ended up doing that. So in a weird kind of way, it's a tough road, and it changes all the time, and you got to be fired a lot. The only way you get a lot of jobs is your ass gets fired a lot, or let go, or released, or however you want to look at it. You got to fail a lot. There's been many times when I've just kind of looked in the mirror going, is this worth it? Is this really, sometimes it might be easier just go get a job in construction and disappear, or go become a teacher in the Midwest somewhere, under assumed name, and just enjoy life. Because sometimes it can be tough. And unfortunately I picked, and you're being in entertainment, eventually you all get fired. Yeah. Very few of us get to retire in the sunset, And so you can love it all you want to, but as long as you understand that it's never going to love you back, and wrestling is just like that. I've been fortunate to have a long career in wrestling. Acting is tough because I'm not bragging, but I'm an intellectual guy. I'm a quick-wit guy. Doesn't quite fit the body frame. So being the quiet bodyguard in every movie can be a real pain in the ass sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to drop things in there and you want to do things, but you don't look the part. But you got to stay working. So sometimes you got to put your pride aside to put food on the table, or one small step might lead to bigger steps. So I never look at the way I walk into anything as permanency. It's like I'm in the door. Once I get in the door, they see my work ethic, they see my charisma or my wit or whatever, then I'll be able to get more. So that's kind of the way I've looked at things, and Fox was very similar to that. And here's the deal, though. They're all very kind of intertwined together in a weird way.
Yeah, well, when I was going over your accolades and your amazingness at the beginning, I did not drop the fact that you were on Glow, one of the greatest streaming-based TV shows of the past few years. We saw you in a couple episodes at the beginning of that. So actor, Fox News personality, host, and wrestler. Those 4 titles, or am I leaving one out there?
No, you know what, though? Jack of all trades, master of none. Glow is still a sore spot because I was brought back in movie at the same time, and my agent at the time was basically trying to talk me into not doing Glow to do this movie. And I was like, I want to do Glow. So, but that was not basically what was conveyed to them was like, well, he could do this, but he needs these days off and these days off. And unfortunately, and here's the best part, the movie ended up getting defunded. So it was like I ended up over. But but Chavo Guerrero did a great job, and with my taking over with my partner, with my brother, and it was a great series. And I was actually surprised that it didn't go as long as I thought it should have went longer. I don't, I guess sometimes you run out of steam, but I kind of feel like they pulled the plug a little early on that one. They had a lot of talented people on there, and that could go a lot of ways. Doesn't, they could have, there was some stars in there, but that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, well, we might see if Heels on the Stars channel picks up the steam from that. And then that's successful, and therefore there's now 5 wrestling shows. We'll see if that ultimately happens. But how did the relationship with Fox first start? Were you henpecked by somebody on the staff there at the Gutfeld show?
No, not even close. Basically, honestly, the best way I kind of tripped and fall into it. That's the only way you can describe it. I don't have a Cinderella story for this one. But other than, well, I guess kind of, because I was on Twitter, and I was posting stuff because I was just out of the WWE and just starting with Impact. And you have to do more things on social media, bookings, and promote yourself, because the WWE kind of does, as not available. They kind of pick and choose what you do. Yeah. So, and Impact is like, it's on you. Like, we give you the platform, but you gotta do you. If you don't put any work in it, you don't get shit. If you put work in it, you might get stuff. So I was very active on social media at that time. And somehow a strand came through with a Greg Gutfeld comment from Red Eye. And I made a comment back, and then he responded, and he was like, hey, I was looking through your Twitter. You're a pretty witty guy. Would you be interested in coming on my show sometime? I immediately thought, creepy little white guy wants a wrestler to come to his hotel room and beat him up or something. Like, I thought it was like some weird thing. Like, why the hell would this conservative Republican want me to go on a Fox News show? Because to this point, I hadn't talked any politics other than in the WWE locker room with Kane and Daniel Bryan, because Kane was so influential in terms of like making sure you're aware of stuff. There's like your future and being fiscally responsible with your money and knowing where your taxes go. That was something that, and Kane doesn't get enough credit, and he's a great mayor now, but he doesn't get enough credit for what he did in the back for the boys. You always talk about, guys, what they do in the ring. Behind the scenes, he was really pushed being more than just a wrestler in terms of who you are. And I took it to heart. So so when he asked me to do the show, I frankly, man, I thought it was all BS. You know how many times I've been asked to do a movie with no paycheck? Yeah. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, get rich. All we got to do is this. And if 10 million people buy that, it's like, yeah, Briz. Yeah, right. I know. Yeah. Okay. But I agreed to do it. Then I got a phone call from Joan, but I was very skeptical. And then like an actual, like, just like the WWE, someone calls you up, here's your flight, you're flying here, you're staying here. It was just the one-off, just going to come on the show, see how it goes. I had no expectations. And we just kind of hit it off. And during the first commercial break, he said, hey, if you lived in New York, I'd have you as a co-host, man. You're really good. And I was like, I don't live in New York, bro. And he's like, well, I don't know, maybe once a month. I'm like, oh, that would be phenomenal. Great. Cool. And it just kind of went from then. The next time I came back, I'll say it's probably that second time. Yeah, I talked about the importance of when you are pulled over to cooperate, and it's not the moment to become a civil rights leader. You're not Rosa Parks. When you decide to resist and fight the cops over a traffic ticket, you're a criminal, and you need to remember that. And the goal is to go home. So you cooperate. Because I was just speaking from the hip, like I had been when the LAPD came around. District had their reputation. We weren't stupid. My neighborhood, we were convinced they killed Tupac and Biggie Smalls. Like we had our issues. So, and I had been driving. I think one of my buddies had a candy apple green Cadillac with gold Daytons, and he was selling it to me. And I was driving it one weekend, and I got pulled over, and it sucked. I had a clean – in L.A. in the summertime, all you wear is a clean white T-shirt. That's it. Your clean white tee and some jeans, and your kicks are clean. In my case, my hat was on backwards. And the first thing I got asked is where your drugs at, not how are you doing, where's your license, none of that shit. And it was, next thing I know, I'm laying face down on the ground for 2 hours for no other reason than driving while being big and black. You know, it sucks. I've been through that. But the whole time, it was about cooperating and getting through that situation. Worst case scenario, I was going to go to jail for the night. Someone had to bail me out on Monday or whatever. The whole process sucked. I hated giving him the fake respect or kissing out, whatever. But you know what? Eventually, I didn't have any warrants. I wasn't speeding, and I was let go. And then the other side of it, I've had a flat tire on the side of the road, and I've had a sheriff stop and go above and beyond helping me get to where I need to go. So, you know, and I've had vast more positives than negatives, but you have to acknowledge them. So when I spit it, it went viral, and I didn't even get it. And Greg was like, "Have you seen this?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't really look at that stuff." And he was like, "They love you. We want to bring you back again and again." And eventually they were like, "Hey, how much do you make it Impact?" And I lied to him, and they were like, "Okay, we'll give you 10 more." And I was like, "Damn it." One thing about me, all my jobs, I'm a horrible negotiator. Horrible. I cannot represent myself at all. Like, I'm terrible. And so and then it just kind of took off from there.
Wow.
But it was never the plan.
That is so much great information, and actually answered like 3 or 4 of the intended follow-up questions I had. So I'm going to take us in a different direction and say, around that time after you'd left Connecticut, the old company, I saw you live on this show at Citi Field called Legends of Wrestling. And that was a weird betweener period kind of thing. When that was going on, now keep in mind, half the talent from that show has been signed and is back on television and doing great things. But did that feel like the end of the rope for you? Like, what am I going to do next, that period of your life?
No, because I had things going on. I had literally, when I got released from the WWE, I got a call from Impact 4 days later.
Oh.
So they were like, as soon as your 90 days are up, EC3 is waiting for you. You know, and John Gurek, as we call him, Big, who was at WWE, he was the head of the talent there. I was one of his favorite guys. See, my guys were all gone. John Laurinaitis was gone, who hired me. Big was gone. Bill DeMont was gone. Dr. Tom was gone. So I didn't really fit in the new regime. So, but they were everywhere else. So because I've always had a good work ethic and I was talented, and sometimes that's always not enough. But I'll be honest with you, I kind of shut down my last year. I wasn't happy with the direction of the Funkasaurus and Tenzai and I felt like we should have been getting more, and I really wanted us to turn heel together because I felt that we could really show what I spent my first 2 years in the WWE training under Arn Anderson to be this vicious heel. And as he would say, how many shirts did I have to change rolling around the ring with you? You know? And I really let my frustration kind of cloud my last probably 6 months in the WWE. And I have to take responsibility for that, because if I was more open, it probably wouldn't happen. But I wouldn't be here now if that didn't happen. So whenever I look at the WWE, it was the launching point of my platform. So I have nothing but good vibes from them. I still speak to guys. You know, John Laurinaitis has always been a big supporter, and someone, Paul Heyman's a guy I can call for advice anytime I want to. Just there's so many positives in the WWE that I really don't have a bone to pick, because at the end of the day, your success comes back on what you're willing to put in. And when you get fired or you get sent down, that's not an excuse to lay on the ground and blame everybody else. So I never really had that kind of attitude. So I was lucky that where I was able to go right into Impact. And at the same time, I was getting booked everywhere. Now, I was doing Legends. I was getting a chance to wrestle my buddy, Brian Myers, who was the guy who was my opening match for the Funkasaurus. And a lot of people a lot of the guys were not. It was a short line to be the guy to do the job for the Funkasaurus. And Brian walked right up to Triple H and said, I want to be Brodus's first match. And that, I will never forget that. So here we are, Met Stadium, his hometown. He's Mr. Met. He was supposed to put me over, and whoop, lo and behold, slipped on a banana peel. Myers stole it. I remember Brian Saggs was like, what the hell? What the hell? Like, you're on the moniker, you know? And I was like, oh, you know, things happen. I walked up to Brian. I said, who's up? You up? He's like, yeah, I'm up. We never bothered to ask anybody. But I was so happy because he's dressed like the Mets, you know, and I'm a Red Sox fan. It just doesn't seem right to win in Met Stadium. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll just blame it. I'll blame it all on Stanley. Stanley didn't cover home. Brian got me on a roll up. It happens. But Legends of Wrestling was great. Goldberg was there. I met Uncle Louie with the belts. Like that. Whenever it's great to see everybody, and everyone was really well paid. So when you're wrestling in a VAF somewhere, an armory with 6 people there, that might be the end. You know, that situation might be the end. But so it was a good night. I had a lot of fun. Got paid extremely well, and the Legends circuits do pretty well when they do get together. I know they kind of not everything's sustainable, but yeah, at that point in my life, being booked, being calls, being able to name my piece, and having impact, and starting to have things happen with acting, and starting to have things happen with the Gutfeld show. It was a touch and go period, but it was a lot of promise. And I never focus on what I don't have. Like I said, I never thought like, oh man, I'm going to, you know, all I got to do is bust my ass for 3 months and WWE's going to call me. Oh man, you know, like, oh, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to get my green mile and be the next Michael Clark Duncan. I never really think in those terms. I just kind of focus on what's right in front of me. Or as Harry Smith used to always tell me, live in the now. You know what I'm saying? I'm living in the now. Like, why are you wearing a cowboy hat and a sports jacket and a British flag running to the ring? And he'd just look at me and TJ and go, I'm living in the now. So that has always kind of been my philosophy, because at the end of the day, wrestling and any other entertainment or sports, it's always not up to you. You know, someone has to want to book you. There's a writer that wants to write for you. There's a promoter that wants to pay you. And then one day they're not. And I'm not, my window is closing. I've told myself 2 years. The clock is on. I'm in right now with Billy Corgan, and it is phenomenal. I'm having a blast. And because I'm such a historian in wrestling, when I won the television title, I'm like, I'm rocking this thing every damn where for everybody that I ever stayed up late to watch. Tully Blanchard, Magnum T.I., Nikita Koloff, The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, Arn Anderson, I mean, those guys, when they had that television title, and I respected them so much because that meant they defended on TV damn near every week. So it meant a lot to me to have that opportunity, and at the same time use my platform to get people to remember the NWA. And I didn't expect it to be such a big reaction at Fox, but I didn't really think about it because most of the older viewers at Fox grew up watching the WWE. They were watching NWA, TBS. So for them, they're like, I remember that title. It's kind of cool.
Well, the last 2 questions I have, what you just said ties into the first one, and that's, are there any surprise wrestling fans on the Fox News team? Because I know from talking to different people, there's a lot of closeted wrestling fans per se, but anyone you can spill the beans on?
Gutfeld. Just the way he introduces me, NWA World Television Champion. I didn't ask him to do that. Like, he's always asking and hinting, and I've already talked to Billy about it, so we might see Gutfeld in some trunks at some point, and I would completely turn on him. I would go full Andre on him. It would not be like celebrities in the WWE where it would be old school where we beat the celebrities up. You know, you come into my house, you got to pay the bill. I never liked that when we started letting the actors come on and beat us up. It used to be, you know, Muhammad Ali was in an airplane spin, and Gorilla Monsoon told him, you don't know wrist lock from wrist watch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was the great Muhammad Ali. So But it's a beautiful thing. A lot of the old Geraldo, Judge Janine, all the old school, like Waters was another one who's always asking me questions about it. He's very envious of my title. And I told him, if you want one, go get one. You know, he's like, what's always on your shoulder? If you had traps, bro, you do it too. I can put my book right there. You can't. So I'm just having a good, I have zero, and there's a lot of, and I don't get a lot of hate, which is crazy, but why enough of the belt, bro, instant block, you're gone. If you don't understand why I wear it, and you're not really a fan of mine, and I'm going to wear it until someone takes it from me. So, and if you don't like it, you don't have to watch, because I don't live my life based on fans and likes. I do what I like. My kids love it. My friends love it. My peers love it. Whenever, ever I get on the thing, I'll get a text from like Kevin Nash or Trevor Murdoch or Dolph or any of the guys going, man, good for you, man. Because we like the fact that we come to the wrestling. I'll always be a wrestler first. Like that, I will always remember, because if it wasn't for John Laurinaitis and Bill DeMont and Vince McMahon and Triple H fighting for me, and the time that I spent with the American Dream, that he went from coach to pops, I wouldn't be here having a conversation with you if it had not been for them, for seeing something in me. So this is my tribute and my swan song, because I always told I would never do anything to disgrace the sport. And once I couldn't do the movements, once the power starts going, then it's my time to go out on my shield and move on. And no disrespect to the Ric Flairs and the guys who stay forever. I get it, they're icons, and they weren't able to turn into anything else. I think it's important because I've turned things into other things. I don't have to wrestle anymore. But when I'm done, that door is open for the next guy to transition from wrestling to talk shows or acting. And we have The Rock, we have Cena, but I think of guys like Dave Bautista, who really, their platform really didn't help him. He kind of, when his career was over with the WWE, it was kind of like done, Even when he came back, it wasn't like the same kind of. And Dave is, I think, one of the best actors out there. He is a character actor, and his acting career is just as probably more influential than his wrestling career. And Dave was a top guy, no mistake. But it's like he stopped, resurfaced, kicked ass, and took names. Then there's guys like me, who were really good mid-card guys. We never really got, like I had one match with CM Punk, one match with Edge. I always did well. Cena only T-boned his ass one time, but, he knew better. But never got to that position. But I used my platform to take it to the next, to become a player on a high level at a different, so it's almost harder, but there's more guys in my lane in wrestling that are going to be a Cena or a Rock, so to speak, and to see that we can transition and be just as powerful. Because I think I'm killing it on TV. I don't think there's another wrestler in my league right now in terms of those things, and that opens the door for the next guy, like a Dolph Ziggler or Swagger, whenever he decides he wants to do, whether it's Fox or whatever the case may be. It's important to show how talented it is, because the reason why I do so well at Fox is because I know how to talk in a minute. These guys, these talking point guys, they need 5-6 minutes to get their point across. I was the best thing. Heath Slater and myself, what we were the best at? Raw's going over. We got 3 minutes. Who's got it? We got you, boss. We'll go out there, no entrances. We'll slip on a bet. See you next week. 3 minutes, deuces, I'm out. So it's the same thing with Gutfeld. That's why I'm the anchor. When I see them put 1 minute up, I got this. Don't worry about it. Like, and hitting times is so important. One takes is what you learn in wrestling. There's no retakes. Sid said it best. Oh, can I do it again? We're live, pal. That is wrestling. That's why we're so damn good at other stuff. You put us in acting, we get confused because all the retakes and angles, because we're ready to go. And that's the beautiful thing, the advantage that a wrestler has over an actor, because we know how to work the crowd and get it in when it counts. I'm off my soapbox. Go back to being, but you gotta keep it real.
That where Live Pal reference was the best thing you could have done. I'm not going to try and top that with any questions. So Tyrus, the last compliment here is, why are we talking to you? Because you've reinvented yourself. You're on weekly television on a highly rated program. People who had no idea that you were a wrestler are watching you every week and going, that guy was a wrestler? Yeah, makes sense. So keep up the greatness, and looking forward to seeing what's next, whether it's a movie, a memoir, whatever it is.
I got a book coming out soon. I got a couple movies coming out. So we got some stuff going. We're going to have to do this again, bro.
I look forward to that, man. Thank you for your time. Keep up the greatness there.
Paltrocast.